everybody. Welcome to Work on Workplace Relationships with Aastha. We are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And it's Sunday, so it's our weekly live. Yes, the time has changed today. We do it 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time every Sunday. But today we are meeting live at 12:30. And there's been some commitment which therefore I had to reschedule. So this is what it is. Lovely. So very, very warm welcome, all those of you who are joining in live. Work on workplace relationships is all about, picking up aspects, issues, challenges that you face in your workplace relationships, right? And how do you do the work so that you could create the relationships that you desire, that serve you and the others? And at the same time, we try and bring in elements, we pick elements of ourselves, of our inner self, of our relationship with ourselves, because they are ultimately impacting what is happening outside. So outside is a reflection of what's going on inside. Yeah. And today in this live, we're going to talk about the silence, the very, very powerful silence, and how so often in the workplace setup it is misinterpreted, and that has its consequences. So, how can we thoughtfully deal with that silence? What could be some of the ways in which we can really, rather than misinterpreting, rather than assuming, if we could just be thoughtful, be mindful, what could we do so that we know exactly what's happening, we do not misinterpret it? Yeah. So that's what I want to talk about. How do you handle people's silence instead of misinterpreting it? This, of course, applies everywhere, even in your personal life, but the context is workplace relationships today. Yeah. So, for those of you who are seeing me for the first time, I'm Aastha Tatia, your happiness coach. And this is Work on Workplace Relationships with Aastha, our Sunday live. We do it at 8 p.m., but today we're doing it at 12:30. Very, very warm welcome once again. We are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Great. So, one of the fundamental things is that, we all, respond in different ways. So when there is something that you have put forth, when there is something that let's say you're having a discussion. Okay, and by the way, let me tell you why did I choose this topic. So there was this lovely post, enriching, interesting post by Rashmi Dutt ma'am, who's who's a coach herself, and she's into psychodrama, and she puts some amazing posts, and she had brought this forward. Silence, how do you deal with silence? And she quoted a setup, a scenario where how the silence is misinterpreted, and that's where we were all thinking and brainstorming. So that's what made me bring up this topic, because this is so often experienced, encountered by all of us, and therefore I thought it is very, very important. How do you deal with silence? So, in a scenario where in your organization, at your workplace, whether you are a corporate executive or you are a professional or you are an entrepreneur, and there is a setup, a scenario where you are discussing some idea, you bring forward a new idea, or it's about a change of policy in your organization or any such thing where you are discussing it with a group, and you want their opinion. You say, are we all in sync? Are we all agreeing to it? And you are faced with a silence by some of the people. There are 2 3 people who nod, who say, okay, it's fine. But then there are others who are silent. And what do you do then? Yeah. Or it could be any other instance where you want their opinion in a particular scenario where you're stuck, there's a deadlock, and you want each one of them to maybe agree at a possible solution, towards a possible solution, and you are faced with silence, right? Or you want people to switch, to turn around and work in a different setup or in a different way, and you propose something there. Yeah. And while some people are giving you that light nod, there are some of them who give you the silent treatment. Now, what typically happens in such a scenario, if you reflect in your own lives, when you are faced with silence, most of the times people assume. Like, that's one thing that we all do, which is we assume. We assume what that silence means, and that's coming from where those assumptions are coming from, where they are coming from our beliefs, our conditioning, right? Oh, he's quiet means he doesn't like it. Or he's quiet means, okay, we can move forward. I can't be sitting here and getting everybody's nod. I think if they would have had a problem here, they would have said it, right? So we just kind of misinterpret it, assume what it means basis our conditioning of what that silence is supposed to be or how we want to respond to it. So we assume and then we respond accordingly, which is we take it as a validation, we take it as an agreement, and we move forward. We make that decision, or we say that, okay, yes, so the policy is changed, or this is how we are all going to work now, because I think you all are fine with it, you're all agreeing. So unless somebody says no, the silence is taken as an agreement, or there could be other ways of misinterpreting it, right? Now what that does is one, you have no idea what's going on the other side. The person who's silent, what's going on here, you have no idea, because you safely assumed basis what you wanted to hear. You wanted an agreement, you thought silence, let's take it as an agreement, right? You want to hear some diverse opinions, you want, no, this should not happen, then you're going to take silence as doubt. So the silence, you're going to interpret that silence basis, how, what your interpretation must conform to what you want to hear. That's what we always do. It must conform to what you want to hear. And that's how you interpret it. But in the process, because you don't know what the other person is going through, what is he feeling, what is his view or opinion about the whole thing, you end up not only misinterpreting but responding in a way which may not go down well with everybody. And when people don't get a chance, it's been misinterpreted, then there is a disempowering emotion that starts to build up, and it may lead to more and more things, right? It may not be the best decision that you've taken, right? Just because people were silent and you were quick to move ahead, it just happened. So, what can you do alternatively? Now, in such a scenario, when it's maybe your boss there who's just silent about something, or it's a colleague, right? Not just a system that you want to introduce, or a policy that you want to change, or something that you an agenda that you have. It could be anything. It could be a one-on-one. It could be a group setup. It could be your boss. It could be your colleagues. It could be your subordinates. But every time that you face silence, instead of assuming, please ask. Please ask for clarity. How can you do that? You can ask more questions around it. Okay, you see the other person is not, answering or responding beyond a point, so you ask more questions so that you get clarity. Or you could ask the other person to share his or her views on the said agenda, on whatever the discussion has happened. What is it that you think about it? What is it that you feel? I really, really want to know everybody's perspective. How you say it is also very, very important while you're asking them, but how you say it, if it makes them feel seen and heard, it's definitely going to help. They would want to share. And in all probability, they may come up with what they're really feeling. Yeah. So, how you say, how much seen and heard you make them feel will make all the difference. So, one is please ask. Please ask for clarity. Don't assume, ask for clarity. And the second thing, what you can do is The second thing, what you once you've asked for that clarity, is you respond accordingly, right? If you feel the need, which is also very very critical, you can take time, give space and grace to the people around. Okay, so if it's your team and you saw that silence prevail, and you ask them, okay, I want each one of you to share your opinion. Now once they've shared their opinion in few words, and you feel that there is no specific clarity or a very very clear outcome that you feel, or you feel that not everybody is absolutely sorted in their views of this particular topic at hand, then you can always give them the space and grace to, one, disagree, to differ, and to maybe spend time considering it. So all of you can take time and you can say, hey, I think let's come back and discuss this again 2 days later. Can we fix up a time for this meeting, next meeting? And you give time to everybody to think about it, right? Depending upon what are the stakes, how important it is. Yeah. Now that does two things. One is, of course, it gives time. So there is, if there's something which hasn't been addressed, which was missed out, people can always think about it and come back. And two, what you've done is you've somewhere, it defines the culture of the organization. Somewhere you have made the people seen and heard. People feel, they get that sense of, okay, my opinion matters, right? And within that, if you're creating a safe space, where people think, okay, I have that space where I can say what I want to say. I can voice out whatever my concern is, or I can say that I do not agree with this. So you've created that space, you've given them the time to consider and then come back and share. So, in all probability, you're going to get a whole lot of perspectives, the real thought process, and that makes it more realistic, I would say, to make decisions, to decide on how you want to move ahead, rather than silence, you assume and you respond. That then leaves you with some surprises or shocks, if I may say, because at a later stage, how far can people go ahead with being disempowered, not happy about the whole thing? Yeah. Hi, Mukta. Welcome. They might be diving deeper on the topic, not necessarily for pointing out mistake, but to get a deeper insight into it. Yeah, true, true. That's where, that's the beauty of, or that's where group dynamics comes into play, where you may not be thinking about something, you're completely missing out. They are actually having a very very important and different perspective which they bring to the table, and just because they are silent for whatever reasons, and you misinterpreted, you skip that whole perspective because you're misinterpreting and responding in a certain way, you miss out on it completely. So, what is very, very important is that don't assume. Please don't assume, because none of us is mind reader. We're not mind readers. So, silence is interpreted in a certain way only basis our conditioning, our belief system, on basis what we want to hear. We quickly jump onto it. Don't do that. Don't assume. Don't respond basis that. Rather, ask very very straight away. Of course, how you say it matters, and you ask questions, or you simply ask them to share their views, ask for more clarity. Once you've gotten the clarity, great. You may feel that right now this can be taken forward, or if you feel it's dilly dallying, then give it more time. More time for you also to consider it, more time for other people who are there, all of them, to give it a thought. And that depends upon how important it is, how critical it is, the what are the stakes, and the consequences, right? So basis that, you can always go ahead and ask, and then give it time if needed. These are two things which to my mind are, can be very very fundamental, simple, and can create a whole different outcome within that particular agenda, right? And gives a, I think, a redefining of culture also happens there, because then you're setting an example in the team if you do it over and over again, and if you do it for every conversation. If that's how you approach every conversation, where you say, okay, let me not assume, ask for clarity, and okay, I mean, can we be okay? One, we agree to disagree, and two, if we are not able to arrive somewhere, can we take time, give some space, consider, come back, and then discuss. So that just sets a culture in the organization, right? And then everybody gets in that mode. So you're actually making your decisions, you're basing them on something realistic from what you've heard from people, rather than your assumptions. Yeah. So I think that's what I wanted to share about this whole silence, because it is such a big thing, not just in your professional lives at your work, but even in our personal lives. Any human to human interaction, there are instances where you are confronted with, you are faced with that silence. So instead of assuming, I think that's the big breakdown that happens there, when we assume and when we say, no, 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 this is what it is, and we build our whole story around it, we go ahead and we do whatever we want to do. So it's just a one way thing that's happening. Instead, if it's a two-way thing, or if it's one to many, then I need to have each of those many being a part of it. I need to have that other person be a part of it. And that's where, please stop responding from your belief, your conditioning of what that silence means, right? That's not going to serve, not going to be realistic. Yeah. I hope this gives you some insight into what could you possibly do. Just try out these two things, and please let me know, how did it work? What did it create? What opened up for you and for other people? And what was the outcome? I'd love to hear. And yep, put it into action. That's what I would end with. So it's very powerful. There could be a lot of stuff behind that silence. So you would definitely want to know that, rather than just assuming. You would really want all of that to come out. What's that vibe that the other person is having? What is he going through? We also get in that mode of assuming basis. Oh, how's his body language, what kind of an expression he's giving. He's silent, but the expression is so and so. Don't do that. It could be misleading, right? And there, when you're there in front, and you have the tool called language, why not ask? Why not ask? So please go ahead, ask, and then base your decisions on that. Yep. Great. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope this was meaningful. If it was, let me know in the comments. Even for those of you who joined in, thank you so much. Even if you could not and you're watching it later, still drop a comment. Let me know what is your takeaway from this. And if there's any other perspective that you have, right? If there's any other way in which you've been dealing with the silence, and possibly that's going to be enriching for all of us. So go ahead, do that. And I'm going to see you next Sunday. Till then, have a great week ahead. Wishing you lots of love, lots of happiness. Bye bye.